So in today's video, I am going to be attempting to do a mashup of two sewing patterns by Ellie and Mac. I'm going to be using the Be Dreaming pattern and the Sunny Day sewing pattern. Both of them are dress patterns. I'm going to be using the bodice from the Sunny Day and the skirt from the Be Dreaming. So if you want to see how it turned out, just keep watching. If you're new to my channel, my name is Leslie. My channel is all about crafting on a budget. I do mostly sublimation videos and a little bit of Cricut and sewing. So if any of those things interest you, please consider subscribing, joining my YouTube family, and let's jump into this video. So for this project, you're going to need some fabric. I am going to be using this fabric from Walmart. It's from their bundles. I didn't know what I was going to use this fabric for because it's kind of thin and you can see through it. But I think this will be a good project for it. I'm going to wear shorts underneath, so I think it'll be fine. So I have about 2 yards, I believe, of this fabric, and I think that should be good. You're going to need your rotary cutter and your rotary mat or your fabric scissors, but rotary cutters come in handy and I think are better than fabric scissors because you have more control and you can make some nice straight lines that aren't jagged. You need your bodice piece from the Sunny Day tunic by Ellie and Mac. I'll have the patterns linked down below. And I think I'm also going to use the pocket from that pattern as well. And then you need the Be Dreamy, the skirt portion of the pattern. I'll have that linked down below. I'm going to be cutting that one on my projector, so that's why I don't have a printed one for it. You're gonna need some clips. These come in handy when you're sewing. I prefer these to pins, especially when working with knits. And you're gonna need a sewing machine or a serger. I will be using my serger. I have a Baby Lock Vibrant as my serger. And let's just get started. So I'm gonna start off by cutting my bodice since I already have that. I'm gonna put down my pattern piece on the fold. We have this fold right here. I'm gonna put it down. And then I'm gonna use some pattern weights to hold this in place. And I also use these, I have these washers. And I use these as weights as well. So I just put them down wherever I feel like I need them. And then I'm just gonna take my rotary cutter and I'm gonna cut that out. So I have one bodice cut out. So for this pattern, we have liners and outers. So we're gonna cut 4 of our bodice. We're gonna cut, so I have my 1, 2, 3, 4 bodices cut out. I'm gonna cut my back first just so that I can see if I'm gonna have enough fabric because I'm kind of a little skeptical right now. So I'm just lining up on the fold. So I'm gonna be doing the high low of the Be Dreamy. Cross my fingers if I have enough fabric. So I'm gonna mark that because I don't have too much fabric to work with. Instead of following the pattern completely, like where it flares more, I'm just going to just wing the rest of it. So hopefully this works out. I didn't have enough fabric. It's supposed to flare out a bunch, but I just didn't have enough fabric. So I just kind of brought it down. So we'll see how that looks once we sew it. So that's our back piece. Now we're gonna do our front piece. So I don't have enough for the front part. So I'm just gonna wing it. And I'm just gonna line up my fabric and we're gonna try to figure this out. It's still gonna be shorter in the front, but it'll just end up being maybe straighter. So maybe instead of being like as dramatic of a flare, I'm just gonna go where that point is. I'm gonna take my ruler and I'm going to point it out a little bit. Okay, so I'm gonna cut like that. So I'm just gonna bring it to that corner and cut it straight. And so that's how our front piece is going to look. I do wish that I had enough fabric for this. So if you're gonna do this mashup, you're gonna need maybe 3 yards of fabric because I only had 2 and that was not enough. So now that we have all our pieces cut out, we're gonna start assembling it to get ready to just sew it. So we're gonna start by putting 2 of our bodices together at the shoulder seams. So you're just gonna line them up pretty sides together at the shoulder seams. So I have 2 of my bodices clipped at the top and the shoulder seams. I'm gonna do my other 2 bodices, pretty sides facing each other again. So while we are at it, we are just gonna take our back skirt piece and our front, and we're gonna line those up at the sides as well. So the top is gonna be a more shorter than the bottom. The bottom's longer. So that's how you tell them apart. And we are going to, you know what? I'm not gonna do pockets for this dress, but if you wanted to do pockets, you would line up where your marking is. You would put your pocket there and you would pin it with the curved part up. You put it like that. And you would put one on this side, one on this side, and then one on each of these. And they're mirrored. So your bottom 2 should look the same, and then your top 2 should be a mirrored image of this. And then what you would do is you would sew right here, attach your pocket, you can serge it as well, and you would do that for all of them. And then you would do this step that I'm about to do. So I'm just going to line them up at the sides, and then we're just gonna clip it all the way through the sides. And you would do the same thing with your pocket. The only difference is that if you had your pocket there, your pocket would then be sticking out like this, and you would line up everything and you would sew down this way around your pocket and then all the way down. And now I'm going to flip it to the other side and I'm going to do exactly the same. So now that we have it all pinned up, we're going to take our skirt and we're going to sew the sides at a 1/4 seam allowance. I'm going to use my serger. You can use your sewing machine. If you use your sewing machine, make sure to use a stretch stitch and not a straight stitch, or your stitches will pop. And we're also going to take our 2 pairs of bodices and we're going to sew them at a 1/4 seam allowance at just the shoulder seams, not the side seams or the neck sides, just the shoulder seams. So now that we have all those sewn, I'm just going to take some scissors and I'm going to clip off my serger thread. And the only reason why I'm clipping these off is because these are going to end up being sewn over. So it's okay, we don't have to tuck our serger threads for this. So we're going to take both our bodices and we are going to put them right sides together. We're going to line up our shoulder seams and we're going to put a clip there. And we're doing this in the part where our neck is. And then we're going to line up all of our neck. Just line it all up and clip it together. Now we're going to take it to our serger or sewing machine and we're going to stitch all the way around, still using that 1/4 seam allowance. So it should look like this once you have serged all the way around. We're going to tuck in this tail since it's not going to be sewn into anything else. You can either go flip it over, go on your sewing machine and do a zigzag stitch over it, or you can get a tapestry needle. And what you do is you're going to put it inside of the serger stitches, and then you're going to get a needle threader and you're going to put that in between the middle here, and you're going to bring that in just like that, pull it through, and then now pull at the end of the needle gently, kind of let it stretch a little bit so it can fit in there, and then just trim off the excess. You can put some frayed check if you want on it so that it doesn't come undone. Okay, so now what we're going to do is you're going to take one side. So you have your 2 pieces right here. You're going to take the one closest to the middle and you're going to bring that inward like this. Just like that. So you should have an outer and a liner, just like that. So we're going to do the same for the other side. Bring it in, we're gonna go to our iron and we're going to just steam down all of these. So I steamed my whole neckline. So now we're gonna do what's called the burrito method. And this is just gonna allow us to not have any seams. This is gonna be sleeveless, so it's gonna allow us to not have any seams on the outside. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this right side here and we're going to just basically just roll it like a burrito. You're just gonna roll it all the way to the other side. So now it should be in the middle. Make sure it's nicely in the middle because we don't want it to get in the way. So now what you're gonna do is you're gonna take this top layer right here. This is your other side that you didn't roll. You're gonna take that top layer, flip it over like that. Flip it over it, and then just flip it. So now that left side, you have one part of your left side in the bottom and then one on top. So now what we're gonna do is we are going to clip from here all the way to here. And now we're just gonna sew all the way across here. So now that we've sewn all that, you can clip your serger threads, pull from down here, and just pull the whole thing out. And now you see that on that one side, we now don't have a seam, and you can press this down with your iron. And now we're gonna do basically the same thing. So we're gonna roll the side that we already sewed up, roll it to the other side, make sure it's tucked in the middle so that you don't risk it getting caught when you're sewing. Flip over that top layer, grab your burrito, and then flip it the bottom layer under. And now just match up your arm cycle. So now we're gonna sew this arm cycle from corner to corner here at a 1/4 seam allowance. Okay, so once we have serged it, we can trim our tails. And we're gonna do the same thing. Put our hand through and just pull at that shoulder seam. So now you can go to your iron and you can steam that down on both sides. You're gonna make sure that your liner is facing up, and then you're gonna line up all 4 of your side seams here. And then once you have them lined up, you can take your clips and just clip them all together. And now just sew at both of these sides at a 1/4 seam allowance. So now we have those side seams sewn together. So this skirt is for the Be Dreamy, so it's meant to fit the curved bodice of the Be Dreamy. This bodice is a bit smaller than this, so what we're gonna have to do is just do a tiny bit of gathering, not very much, so that as you can see, so that our skirt can fit this. So my favorite way of gathering with knits is using elastic. So you could do a basting stitch, but I really like clear elastic. It's pretty easy to do. It kind of adds some more stability if you're using like a heavier fabric. So I'm gonna start off by taking my bodice, meeting my side seams, and then going to stretching it out to this side, and then I'm gonna put a little notch there with my scissors. So basically I go like that, and then I take my scissors at an angle and I just do a notch like that, and once it opens up, it'll look like that. So I'm gonna do the same thing to the other side, line up my side seam, stretch it to the other side, and I'm gonna put a notch there as well. And now I'm gonna open up my bodice, and I'm gonna take my clear elastic. I am going to line it up to the other side, take my permanent marker, put a dot there where the bodice begins, And I'm leaving a little bit extra here just to help me at the beginning to kind of pull it and guide it. And so I'm gonna line that up with the bodice. I'm gonna take a clip, clip it onto my bodice and the elastic. Then I'm gonna bring out my elastic. I'm not stretching it, I'm just bringing it out. And I'm gonna see where the other side of my bodice is. And I'm gonna take a permanent marker, put a dot there, and I'm also gonna fold over my elastic. And then I'm just gonna clip it right there at the end, and this is just gonna help it not budge while I'm trying to get my other measurements. So now I'm gonna bring it back this way, and I'm gonna see where my notch is at here, and I'm gonna put a dot there, and then make sure on the other side that my notch is there. On the other side, my notch seems to be a little more this way. So I'm just marking the other one that I had brought up, and then I'm going to mark again where my bodice begins, and then that's it. So now we're gonna take this to our sewing machine, and I'll show you how to attach it to our skirt. But first we're gonna take our skirt and we're gonna do the same thing we did to our bodice. So we're gonna line up our side seams, make sure we trim these, our serger threads, line up our side seams, bring it out to the back. I'm gonna put a notch there. Do the same thing to the other side. Put a notch there. Okay, so now we can move to our sewing machine. So we're gonna do a zigzag stitch, and we're gonna take whatever is the back part of we're gonna start there, and we're gonna be doing it on the inner part of our skirt, so the wrong side. And you're gonna start at that first dot you made. And this part can be a little tricky, so you're gonna line it up close to the edge, a little bit below. Put down your presser foot, put your needle down. And then, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna find our side seam, and we're gonna find the second dot. We're gonna find the second dot on our elastic, and we're gonna stretch that all the way to our side seam, and we're gonna hold down to that really tight. And so you're basically stretching your elastic. We're gonna just let it do a few stitches first, and then, so with my left hand I'm holding that stretched elastic, and then with my right hand I'm gonna pull in the back. This is kind of showing you what it's doing. It's gathering it. So now we're gonna find that other dot we did, and we're gonna stretch that out to our notch that we cut out in our fabric. And we're gonna do exactly the same. And the last dot, I'm gonna stretch it out past where I started. So now that I've reached the end, I'm just gonna trim my elastic. We're gonna take our bodice and we're gonna slip that into our skirt, and we're gonna match up our side seams, clip those together. Now we're gonna line up our notches with the notches on our skirt, and we're gonna clip that. So now that we have this all clipped up, we're gonna take it to our serger, and we're gonna serge it at a 1/4 seam allowance. Okay, so now you want to look over everything you serged and make sure that you caught all the layers, because it is a lot of layers. Now we're almost done. We're gonna just work on hemming our dress. Okay, so now that we have sewn our skirt and our bodice together, we're gonna hem our skirt. We're gonna do a 1/2 inch hem all the way around. So the dress turned out much cuter than what I anticipated. But here are my tips. For the skirt, it has like a natural curve to it because the Be Dreamy, the bodice kind of curves up like that, kind of like an upside down U. So I would say straighten out the top portion of the skirt and maybe trim down your skirt to the size of your bodice. Or you can make your skirt 1.5 times the size of your bodice and then just gather it. Other than that, I think it turned out really cute. I didn't have enough fabric again to make the low rise, the high low portion of the skirt, so it still is where the front is shorter than the back, but it doesn't have that curve that the Be Dreamy originally had. So other than that, I think it turned out really cute. Let me know down below what you guys think. I will have the links to those linked down below, and don't forget to enter the giveaway. And I'm so excited for one of you guys to win that mug press. Thank you guys again for supporting me. If I look oily and sweaty, it's because it is 90 something. It is 90 degrees here in Illinois. So anyways, thank you guys for supporting me, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye guys.